Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander, and I am, as always, excited and energized and raring to go for today's Chat and Learn event. We're going to be talking about crafting your unforgettable LinkedIn presence, insights from founding LinkedIn editor Lorraine K. Lee. Now, I'm very excited to get going on today's topic, but real quick before we dive in, I just want to flash our code of conduct real fast. This looks like a big wall of legalese and it's scary and stuff, but truly all it basically what it boils down to is just don't be a jerk, okay? Operate from a place of kindness and respect, and it's pretty hard to go wrong from there. If you have any questions on this or want more details, please feel free to reach out to me, Meg Alexander, in the chat. You can always write into our help desk as well, hi@powertofly.com. All right, now to get us started, I want to say hello and welcome to everybody who might be joining us today. I'm really excited to see all of you, especially our familiar names and faces. But y'all, the love is real for not just my frequent flyers, but so much love for all of our fabulous attendees. Now, if today is your first Power to Fly event, I just want to say hi, welcome. We're so happy to meet you. Now, as we get going for today's event, I encourage you, if you'd like to turn your cameras on, share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. There is no need to be Instagram perfect, y'all. Just because I got real fancy and washed my hair today, does not mean that you can't come to us with your messy buns, your bathroom or your bathrobes, your desks that are at kitchen countertops, whatever it is. We don't want you to stand on ceremony. We just want you to meet us where you are. Now, as we go through today's event, you are always welcome to participate with your camera, but I also want to encourage you to participate in the chat. Oh, Stephanie, welcome. Thanks so much for coming to our event here. Oh, we've got a whole bunch of people chiming in as well. Oh my goodness. All right. Now, like I said, we are recording today's event, and what that means for all of you is you don't have to take notes. You get to relax, enjoy the conversation that I'm going to have with Lorraine, and not worry if you miss a reference that was listed or a resource that was shared. Now, what that means for all of you is that you'll be able to ask questions in the chat. So I really encourage y'all to ask questions there. I'm also going to encourage y'all to take a look at the Q&A bucket. So if you go into your Zoom toolbar, you should be able to find it under More. If you don't see it under More, you might have it as a little icon on the table or like on your toolbar. Basically, if you go in there, there's 5 questions already asked. These are questions that you all asked at registration. And so I would love to encourage y'all to add new questions here, anything that you're also interested in learning, and take a look at the questions that are already in that chat box, or sorry, in the Q&A bucket. I would encourage y'all to use the little thumbs up icon that's next to each one of those questions and vote, do an upvote for any question that you are also interested in learning. That way I can make sure that we tailor the content today to what is most important to all of you, the people that showed up here to be with us live. Now, as we are recording and live streaming, hi YouTube. I just want to remind y'all that what's going to happen is on our YouTube channel, this video will usually be posted by the end of business today. Now, let's say that Lorraine says something unbelievably mind-blowing, paradigm-shifting, and you can't wait to tell a friend or a coworker or a relative. Like I said, you can always head them over to our YouTube channel. The links for today's video will generally be posted by end of business today. And then you can also check out the email that Power to Fly is going to send you. So let's say you finish today's event, you've got to run real quick to your next meeting, and you forget to forward this video to someone else. Don't worry about it. Power to Fly is going to send everybody an email in about 4 to 5 business days, and that's going to have a link to where you can rewatch this recording on powertofly.com. Now, our website is excellent. It's our full roster, all of our resources, and we would love to share them with all of you. But even if you just head over to our YouTube channel, there is a huge selection there of some of our favorites, our greatest hits. And we would love, love, love to provide you with any and all resources that we can to make your career journey exactly what you want it to be. All right, now, very excited to introduce you to Lorraine K. Lee. Now, before I do that, I want to highlight, obviously, she has a professional presence as well as one, talking here with us. So Lorraine K. Lee has a site where you can subscribe for free career tips as well as frameworks, and I'll let her tell you a little bit more about that as we go. Now, in case you have not heard about Lorraine, or if you haven't been lucky enough to join one of her chats with us before, Lorraine is a keynote speaker and an author. She's an award-winning global keynote speaker, an instructor for Stanford Continuing Studies and LinkedIn Learning, as well as the author of Unforgettable Presence, Get Seen, Gain Influence, and Catapult Your Career, which was published by Wiley in 2025. Now, Lorraine works with Fortune 100 organizations, global teams, and individuals to teach them how to supercharge their professional presence. Lorraine is recognized as a LinkedIn top voice and has more than 300,000 LinkedIn followers and a decade of experience as a founding editor at companies like LinkedIn and Prezi. Lorraine has been featured in publications including Bloomberg, Forbes, Inc., and Entrepreneur. Lorraine, I'm so happy to welcome you to the stage again. Is there anything else you think our audience members should know about you before we dive in on questions today?
I think you covered most of it. The only other thing I would add from a LinkedIn perspective, since we're talking about LinkedIn today, it might be interesting for you all to know, what is a founding editor at LinkedIn? Essentially, what that means is that I worked on a lot of different content products at LinkedIn. So, for example, you see that news module in the top right-hand corner of your LinkedIn feed. I actually moved to Hong Kong for a year to help launch that, so I would be writing the stories during the daytime for me in Hong Kong, and then everyone in the US would wake up to fresh news. I worked on the LinkedIn newsletters product, the original LinkedIn influencers program. So a lot of really diverse projects, really interesting projects, and so I'm excited to share more with all of you today.
Excellent. I cannot wait to dive in. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen here so we can dive in on some questions that we were asked. Let me bring you up on stage. There we go. And don't forget, y'all, if you have questions, I really encourage you to send them in. And I just realized we have all of our people joining us. Everybody's chiming in the chat to let us know where they're joining us from. So please, y'all, feel free to let us know where you're joining us from in the chat. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. Lorraine, how about you? You're chiming in from the Bay Area, correct?
Yep, San Francisco.
Love it. Let's see who else we've got in here. We've got Annie chiming in from New York. Stephanie is here for her first PTF event. Welcome, Stephanie. We've got Margaret is coming in from Nigeria. We've also got, let's see, oh my goodness. I love all these responses. Thank you, y'all. Thanks for chiming in. Okay. All right. So to kick us off here with our first question, what do you think professionals should know about crafting a compelling headline that goes beyond their job title? I'm never sure what at all, my opening intro should be on LinkedIn. So what should people know about this?
The headline is one of the most important pieces to your LinkedIn profile. Not just because it's the first thing, one of the first things that people see, but it actually has search implications as well. And so what a lot of people do with their LinkedIn headlines is they will say, job title at company, and then they leave it at that. And you should definitely include job title at company, but the LinkedIn headline gives us 220 characters. So that's quite a lot of space. And so what I want you to think about is to start filling up that space, right? What are keywords that you want to appear in for search results? So for example, I saw someone was a data scientist, right? And let's say you are trying to switch careers, and let's say you want to become a designer. You want the word design in your headline so that when recruiters, when hiring managers are searching the word design, the headline is going to impact your searchability within the LinkedIn platform, as well as on platform, or not platform, but as well as on Google search, right? So you're getting both the search goodness on both of those platforms there. And the other reason why you want to expand on your headline is because we're all more than our job titles, right? So 220 characters, you can fit in some keywords, you can include past companies you've worked for if they are recognizable brand names, right? So people will say like on my profile, it says previously LinkedIn Prezi or ex LinkedIn Prezi. That's always an option as well. And then you'll see on some profiles, it's not on too many. It's actually kind of hard when I do my LinkedIn training. It's kind of hard for me to find examples, but including a mission statement, what is it that you do beyond just a job title? Adding something like that is going to be really impactful as well. So people can understand the value that you provide beyond just the job title. So for example, Meg mentioned that I have a book coming out, and the book is targeting high potential leaders, ambitious professionals who want to go from overlooked to unforgettable. So I have a line like that in my headline, so you can all check it out as well to see how I did it. But that's like my mission statement right now.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna jump the line here with questions because I wanted to ask a follow-up to something you had
Uh-huh.
said.
Yeah.
You had talked about if you want to kind of highlight, and you were highlighting something that was actually already a part of your LinkedIn. Can you explain that to me? Because so how my brain works is I'd be like, all right, well, I mentioned that already here, so should I repeat it up there? So let's talk about that. As people are trying to make their stuff searchable, what should
Huh?
they think about?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the keywords in the headline are going to be important, and your about section as well. Also, the keywords that you include there are going to be important for search. Now, you don't want to just have it be a bunch of keywords, right? Like the about section should be a little bit more qualitative, tell your story, but you will want to include keywords there for the industry you want to be in, for the, again, the things that you want to be searched for. And then same with the headline. Like I always say, for every touch point that LinkedIn gives you, try to take advantage of all the space.
Yeah, okay, I like that. I mean, honestly, 220 characters, like that's a lot. Like, wasn't
Yeah,
Twitter X was like 240 or something once they bumped it up? So I mean, like you could fit quite a lot in that.
yeah, they actually increased it. I think it used to be 140 and then they increased it. And I just feel like that was their sign to be like, include more things.
No, I like that. I think that's good. Okay, so let's talk about the about section since we want to we want to maximize all the different places that we're able to include info about ourselves. What are some of the key elements to an about section? Because a lot of people, when they're creating a LinkedIn profile, it's not just to be seen positively with like recruiters. A lot of times it's also to like set yourself up for a good
Yeah.
brand with your peers. So
Yeah.
what should people know about that about us? How should they structure that?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like you touched on an important point where it's not just for recruiters, not just for hiring managers, but it can be your coworkers. It can be just people in your network, right? People who want to learn more about you and to understand your story. And so the biggest mistake I see with the About section on LinkedIn is people will essentially regurgitate their resume and they'll list, okay, I did this, I did that, these were my responsibilities. Here's like a big paragraph of keywords and skills. But the About section is really a place to show the more human side of you and for people to get to know you. And so, what I like to say is start off with a story, explain how you got into the industry, how you got into your role, something unique about your story. And you really want to draw people in because the About section will get cut off after, I don't know, like 2 or 3 sentences. So, you want to hook people so that they actually click see more. Another thing I've seen that people do that I don't think is the best idea is they will write their about section in third person, like it's a like it's an official bio, and that can be saved for like a website, right? Like LinkedIn, we're trying to get to know you, the person. You have a
LinkedIn,
bio.
everybody knows like you're the one that's editing your page. It's not like there's somebody else
Yeah,
that's going to go in and edit it.
yeah, and like you have a bio elsewhere. Like again, like use LinkedIn not to repeat what exists already on their internet, but to provide something a little bit different for people to get to know you, to connect with you.
Okay. All right. Just because I'm sure somebody else in the room besides me is thinking this question as
Hmm.
well. If we're talking about, as far as the about section goes,
Hmm.
what differentiates the about section in your LinkedIn
Hmm.
from, say, your cover letter on a resume?
Oh, those are two, yeah, very different things. I would say the cover letter is going to be a lot more targeted to a specific role. Now, you can include some personal information and some personal storytelling, but I think the cover letter is going to be much more concise and then specific for that role and probably talk about your skill set a little bit more. Whereas the about section, I feel like is a little bit more personal storytelling and also much longer. I think for that one, you have 2,200 characters, so a lot of space to fill up. So, again, look at mine as an example. I start off with how I ended up to where I am today, a little bit personal storytelling. There is some moments of credibility where it's like, okay, I won this award or I did this thing. But it's like a nice balance, right? Whereas a cover letter, I think, is going to be a little bit more targeted and much shorter.
Yeah, sounds good. We did have a question in the chat, kind of
Mhm.
around this same area.
Yeah.
This person wanted to know, what are the most impactful changes someone can make to their LinkedIn profile in just 5 minutes? So let's say you only have a certain amount of time. Let's say, I don't, whatever, you're waiting in line at the pharmacy, you are hanging out in the car pickup line. If people only have a couple minutes to start updating and making improvements to their LinkedIn page, where should they go first?
Right. 5 minutes. You have the headline, which we talked about. I think that can be done in 5 minutes. Profile photo, making sure that you have a professional photo. And make sure that you're not doing things like having closed off body language. Like a lot of profile photos will have like the crossed arms look. So you want to be open. And actually, you don't really want to show too much of your body. You want to zoom in closer to your face. And this is because on mobile, your profile picture is tiny. And so you still want people to be able to recognize you. So I would say like zoom in a little bit more to your profile picture. Your background photo, this one is maybe a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but updating your background photo. And I have some free templates as well if you go to my website that you can grab. If you're not a designer like myself, I had a designer create those for me. But some templates to make sure that your background photo is not empty. And I want you to think about this as a billboard for your page. It literally looks like a billboard. It's at the top. It's one of the biggest pieces of visual real estate that we have. And LinkedIn just rolled out this new feature for premium members. And if you go on my page, you can see it. You can actually upload 5 background photos. So you like can swipe through them and you can see like different parts of your business, different parts of who you are, depending on, what you're selling or what you're doing. So that's actually very powerful. And that, again, that's just a premium feature right now. But at least have one photo, right? You want to make sure that it's representing you. No more naturescape photos unless you are a photographer and you took that photo. And definitely don't use LinkedIn's default template, which just to me, like when you see that, you're like, oh, this person doesn't really care about their LinkedIn presence. So I would say those few things. And then maybe one more, if I can fit it in, Meg, is your featured section. That is another powerful section that utilizes rich media and is just more visual than the rest of the page. So you can put your resume there if you want. You can upload an article that you were quoted in. You can upload a case study, a blog post you wrote, like whatever it is. Upload a few things to make it more visual on your page.
Right. All right. Now, if y'all are looking for those, I got 4 bullet points: headline, profile photo, background photo, and
Photo
featured
featured.
section. Was there another in
Yes.
there?
Nope, that was it.
All right, so I've got notes for that in the Q&A bucket in case y'all want to go back and snap that. And we'll keep going forward and asking some more questions. Let's see here. Okay. Should someone address employment gaps or career pivots on their LinkedIn profile? And if so, how should they do that?
I think it's perfectly fine to mention it. And I think, especially like I'm in tech or my background's in tech, with so many layoffs happening, it's become very normalized to have those gaps. And so I think it's nothing to hide. Just take ownership of it, right? Like, did you take time off because you just needed a break? That's fine. Did you take time off and you did like a side hustle? That's something valuable, I think, to share with potential employers. So I don't think it's anything if people are worried about how it comes across. I think it's quite normalized now, and I think it can help maybe preempt some questions that might come your way during the interview if you can just be upfront about it and really own it.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And I think you're right. I mean, there was a program, what was it, 3 years ago, four, where LinkedIn was like, call out your break. It was like a hashtag thing. And I remember that being
Break is the
particularly,
title. Yeah.
yeah, like that was very impactful. I still
Yeah.
remember that years later because it was like the first time that you really saw a big leader, a big name within the recruiting space that is familiar, has brand familiarity for most people. That was the first time you really saw anybody big being like, hey, these things happen and it's okay to talk about them because everybody's been through them. And if nothing else, I feel like that was definitely something that was for sure influenced by COVID, was this idea that
Yeah.
like, no, we're all going through different things. Not everybody gets to, show up at the first job, work there for 25 years, get your gold watch and go home. Like that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that, yeah, I think that's really, really valuable to point out to people that like it's all right. We've all been through it. And honestly, any company that's going to make you feel bad about having taken a break for whatever the reason was, probably not, a company that you really want to work with either. So,
Yeah. Agree.
All right. Let's see. Okay, let's move on into let's see. Oh, last thing I want to talk about with LinkedIn for sure. What's the best way to incorporate storytelling into your profile while still being algorithm friendly? We've kind of touched on this a little bit, but what should people think about if they are leaning hard into the storytelling but still want to make sure that they're not being missed by an algorithm?
So what I said about the about section before is going to apply to that, right? There's going to be storytelling, and then if you want to also show up in search results, right? Those keywords are going to be important. Posting content on LinkedIn is also going to be a really wonderful way to get your story out there and signal to the algorithm that you are an active member on the platform. And when you do that, you're likely going to be shown to more people. But posting on LinkedIn can be kind of nerve-wracking. Even when I worked at LinkedIn, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm scared to hit post, which is funny. But really, like, it's about consistency. And I also, I wouldn't worry too much about the algorithm. I know there's like so much talk about it all the time, like, oh, this is the new fad or this is the new thing. To your point, Meg, like, if you can be authentic, tell your story, like, that's going to be the content that people resonate with. And so I wouldn't worry too much about chasing the algorithm or chasing, like, what's the latest thing that people are doing, because it's just going to burn you out, and you want this to be sustainable, right? So I think being able to share your authentic story, as comfortable as you can be with it, sharing information that's going to help people, educate people, support people in what they are doing, I think that's should be more of the focus, and then a little bit less on the algorithm.
Okay, excellent, excellent tips here. Create and share content. Okay, so if you are trying to balance that authenticity with content creation, because obviously you want to be posting things that'll draw people to your page, or will get people to, keep trying to see what you have to say on things. What do you think is the key to that balance of authenticity versus, the content creation aspect, which is a little, let's say less than organic?
There are three types, or I bucket the types of LinkedIn content into three categories. So one is personal, one is educational, and one is professional. And I've seen a trend, and probably COVID had something to do with this, where people really value the personal side of things. Like, so as an example, I used to be someone, because posting on LinkedIn is scary, I would focus purely on educational, and I'm helping you learn how to show up better on video. I'm helping you learn how to be better, have a better LinkedIn presence. And the content did okay, but I noticed when I started putting in more of my personal story and my experiences and sharing my challenges or insecurities or whatever it is, people are more willing to engage. They feel like they get to know you a little bit better. And then you can do things like adding photos. Video is super hot on LinkedIn right now, right? So just any opportunity where people can get to know you more as a person, I think, is the way to go. Now, again, like, it's not easy and it will take time, so don't pressure yourself to feel like I have to be this like influencer thought leader type where I'm just sharing all my deepest, darkest secrets. But with time, with consistency, you will start finding your voice, you will start getting more comfortable, and and then your content will naturally, like, it will just attract, I think, attract more eyeballs, attract more engagement just by you being you. And again, like, easier said than done, but it's really about that practice and that consistency.
Okay, that tracks for me. I mean, I think anything that's a little bit scary is, something you should sort of kind of practice to,
Yeah.
wear off some of the nerves.
Mhm.
But no, I think this is excellent advice. Okay, we've got about 7 minutes left. I want to make sure we get to some more questions from the audience members. So Stephanie had asked, how important are LinkedIn recommendations, and do you have any suggestions for low lift ways to get previous colleagues to write one?
Yes. Okay. Super important, I think. And I usually describe, I liken LinkedIn recommendations to Yelp for professionals. So similarly, when someone's like, oh, let's try this new restaurant, I'm going to look it up on Yelp and be like, does it have good reviews? So if someone's like, oh, I want to maybe hire Stephanie for this thing, okay, I'm going to go to Stephanie's profile and like see what she's about. And so LinkedIn recommendations are a super powerful way to show social proof or professional social proof.
Okay.
And a low lift way to ask people, I think, one, you want to be really specific with what you want them to write about. So not just, hey, can you write me a recommendation, Meg? But hey, Meg, I'm applying for this role. It's super important that I show that I have communication skills and that I know how to manage a team. Can you talk about our work together and focus on those aspects? So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing is, if you know they're busy, you can always offer to draft something for them, right? I'm happy to draft something for you, and obviously you can make tweaks and edits to make sure it fits your voice. A lot of people will take you up on that because they're busy and it just makes life easier for them, right? So I think offering those two things will make it much more guaranteed that you will actually get that recommendation.
No, I think that's a really smart way to think about it. And, it also, like you said, it can feel really odd to be like, hey, we used to know a bunch about each other's lives because I sat next to you every day, but now we don't. Can you also, recommend me for blah, blah, blah? But the only other thing that I have done here is I have asked people to do this who have either asked me to do it in the past, or
Yeah.
I will proactively say, like, hey, I could really use a recommendation in this subject area. And I know that you are stellar at this, so I would be happy to write you, a
Yeah.
recommendation as well. That way, at least you're kind of starting with that offer of like, hey, I would love to help you beef up your profile. Can we do a switch for a switch kind of thing?
Yeah,
So
reciprocal is
yeah.
great. And I think also too, like the reason that that's good, like I've heard people say like, "Oh, does it look kind of disingenuous? Like we're just exchanging recommendations." And I'm like, "No, it looks like you had a great working relationship. Like that's a great thing."
Prabha is in the chat asking, saying that they've never been on anything, never written anything on LinkedIn, and they've been on it for 10 years. How do you get started with that? So when you were first going, what did you do? What was your first kind of impulse?
My suggestion, if you've never posted before, is to actually, instead of starting with posting, start with commenting. And commenting, or your comments rather, are still content. And you can grow your following and you can establish your expertise through comments. So, what I would suggest, Prabha, is you go find a few people who post frequently, whose content resonates with you. Start commenting regularly to practice that muscle of putting your voice out there, putting your name out there. And then once you get more comfortable with that, then you can start posting. I do think comments feel like a lower lift way to start getting more active on the platform. And again, comments equal content, as I like to say. So you are still publishing content and creating a paper trail, content trail, so to speak. Oh, you're muted, Meg?
Well, at least once every session. It's like clockwork. It happens every time. All right, we got 3 minutes left. How can someone use their LinkedIn presence to attract recruiters and secure job opportunities, especially if they're transitioning careers or pivoting industries?
I think
It
all
sounds
those
like
things I
something you'd use your headline.
Yeah, yeah. All the things I mentioned before, I think, are very accurate. Another thing I would consider doing is adding recruiters on LinkedIn. So find recruiters at the companies you want to work for. Maybe there's not a job opening, but once they connect with you, and send them a personalized note. But once they connect with you, you're going to start commenting more, you're going to start posting more. They're going to see your name, your expertise pop up in their feed, and you're going to be more top of mind for them, right? When that role opens up. Or when you do finally reach out, they'll be like, oh, this person is not random because I've been like seeing some of their stuff around. So I think that's a wonderful way to kind of, it's a little bit of a longer game, right? But it's still very valuable.
Yeah, and Bethany's also chiming in the chat thread saying, I found it easier to share an article or resource with just a note about my key takeaway in my post when I share it. That way, I don't have to write a full article by myself, but I can share my insights. And I think that's a wonderful way to look at it. I mean, think about it.
Definitely.
Work smarter, not harder. Like nobody's going to sit there and be like, well, you didn't write an entire article on your own, so I don't need to know
Yeah.
what you think. Like, that's not how people work. So I love this. Okay, 1 minute left. Tell us more about your book, about your business. What should people like? What do you want people to remember after they leave today?
Thank you. Yeah, so my book, Unforgettable Presents, this is the cardboard promo is coming out on April 22nd, and there's an entire chapter on LinkedIn in there. But as I said before, the book is really targeting ambitious professionals, high potential leaders who want to go from overlooked to unforgettable. And so it's a bunch of my own stories on my journey to, go from overlooked to unforgettable. I interviewed nearly 3 dozen experts, so C-suite at Fortune 500 companies, best-selling authors, some content creators you might recognize, all who have an expertise around presence. And so I actually have a very big goal to get 600 pre-orders by March 7th. And so if any of you are interested, there's a bunch of pre-order bonuses, VIP webinars that are coming out. So you can find out more at unforgettablepresencebook.com, or there's a book tab as you see on the site that Meg put up on the screen. So yes, pre-order if you're interested. Follow me on LinkedIn, whatever makes the most sense for you. And definitely send me a note if you start getting more active on LinkedIn. I would love to hear your updates.
Yes, absolutely. Lorraine, thank you so much. It is always such a great time getting to spend an afternoon with you. Thank you so, so much for sharing your time with us yet again. And I can't wait till we do this again.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us today for today's event. Whether today was your first event or your 50th, I sincerely hope it will not be your last. I hope y'all go out, have a great rest of your day, week, weekend. And I should say, no, have the day you voted for. Have the day you voted for, y'all. Have a good nice day. Bye.
Bye.